Okay, thanks everybody for joining. This is Carol from the STS. I'm stepping in for Leanne. She's off for her birthday week. Today is July 18th, and this is the Society of Thoracic Surgeons Congenital Heart Surgery Database user group call. On the phone with me from STS, I have Addie Dolan and Emily Conrad, our two wonderful consultants, Chastity for congenital and Melinda from the adult side. And Dr. Meyer, thank you for joining us, Dr. Meyer. So we're going to go ahead and just a few STS updates, and then I'm going to hand it over to Chastity for some congenital version 6.23 continuing education. The 6.23 training manual is posted. It's been up there for a couple weeks now, so please check it out. Chastity will talk more about this, but from a data manager point of view, you're going to want to refer to the new data training manual as you're abstracting cases for this new version with OR dates after July 1st of 2023, just to make sure you're abstracting according to the definitions, as some of the clarifications may be different than how we've abstracted things previous to this version. So please make sure you review that training manual. And then any subsequent updates that come out on a monthly basis, Chastity is going to have a nice format for that, so it'll be easier to track any additional clarifications going forward. Please make sure you review those on a monthly basis as well. The STS website and IQVIA library cleanup is being conducted this week. We're looking at that, cleaning that up a little bit to maintain version control, make sure that we, when we post things, that we don't have different versions posted in multiple spots. So we're trying to streamline that process of posting information. Moving forward, there will be additional resources on the STS website, which is going to include the analysis overview and the training manual. And if we have time at the end of this, instead of hopping off early, if we have some extra time, we can just do a quick review. I'll do a quick sightseeing tour of the STS website for the congenital information. And the rules to determine primary diagnosis and primary procedure, as well as STS combination procedure codes, will also be included. I believe we're posting those. Chastity, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we're going to try to post those within the training manual, so they only have one home, and we don't have to keep on tracking down all the documents when updates are made to them. Is that right?
Absolutely correct. It'll be in the analysis overview for the analysis portion, and then of course the training manual for when you're coding, and that's it. There won't be separate documents posted in both libraries.
Wonderful, thank you. And then the Appendix C stat scores, update on that. They're going to be moved to the version 6.232 page. They currently reside in the 341 page, so that move will happen, I think, next week when Leanne is back. Minor updates to include updated references, the updated reference to the 6.23.2 version, and the highlighting of all combination procedures. I know Leanne is working on that and plans to have that updated upon her return from her birthday vacation week. Fall 2023 harvest, which includes surgery dates from July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2023, will be the fall harvest will be closing on September 15th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. Please make sure to get your data in as soon as possible, not waiting to the last minute to get data in and clean it up. The sooner you get it in, the better it is if anything like hurricanes or tornadoes or any type of horrible natural disaster or any type of anything that could impede you getting your harvest in last minute. Those are always scary situations. So STS encourages sites to please submit in as real time as possible, get the updated cases in as soon as you can with all your follow-up information, so that you're prepared when that harvest date close date approaches and there's no rushing and anything like that. We also want to be able to provide support to everybody who needs it during that time. So the sooner you get it in, and if you run into issues, we're better prepared to help you, because we're not dealing with emergencies as often as we do when we get closer to harvest close date. So please try to get your data in as soon and as early as possible. The opt-out date for the fall 2023 harvest is September 19th. And then if you have, remember the chat box, I'm going to close down the chat box. And please submit any questions using the Q&A. I'm going to hand it over to Chastity to go over additional education. Make sure I have all the settings right here. Go over the additional education, some additional education for version 6.23. So Chastity, it's all yours now.
Okay, great. Thank you, Carol. So I did have to have a chuckle when Carol reminded us to get our data in on time, because there are always unforeseeable disasters that occur. And I can tell you that I've been involved in more than one, probably more than two harvests where there was a hurricane during harvest. And so it is kind of a funny thing, but it does happen. So I definitely reinforce what Carol said about making sure that you're harvesting often and early to make sure you're as prepared as possible should any crazy natural disasters or unforeseeable events occur, like smoke in the Midwest. So yes, welcome back to some data manager education for our new 6.23.2 version. So next slide, Carol. We are going to go back and revisit our hybrid procedures after our discussion last week. And one thing I want to highlight to you is I did make an error on one slide, and I will point that out. And otherwise, all of the information is unchanged from last week, but I did add in some examples. So hopefully it will give you some clarification for the questions that you posed during the webinar, which are always great, and that we could, add some things to the training manual where needed. So next slide, Carol. Okay, so back to our hybrid procedures, and this is just a snippet from the training manual that you'll see under each hybrid approach procedure that there is something called coding notes, and then a link that says see general information for hybrid procedures for additional information. So I urge you all, where these are scattered throughout the training manual, to go and watch the or go and read each of these boxes. It gives you a little bit more information kind of collectively, not about each individual procedure code, but kind of collectively about the hybrid procedures, or whatever's at hand. We have some of these general information boxes for different procedures throughout the database, different sections in the database. There's one for procedure specific factors. There's one throughout some of the diagnoses, the difference, when do we use tetralogy versus pulmonary atresia, things like that. So just an overarching general information. So there is one for hybrid procedures, and I would urge you to go before you code any hybrid procedures and look at this box for more information. So next slide. So what you're going to see, the box is gray, the slide is not, but this information comes directly from that general information box. This is the one slide that I did make an error on last week by including the a procedure that would only have a surgeon involved. So thank you for those of you who pointed that out. That's been rectified both in the training manual and on this slide. So to code the following procedures, an interventional cardiologist and a surgeon must be involved in the procedure. A hybrid approach stage 1, stent placement in the duct, as well as a hybrid approach stage 1, stent placement in the arterial duct and application of right and left PA bands. It's a combination of cath techniques and surgical techniques. And while a surgeon may not be required to do procedure 2170, that can be done by interventional cardiologists alone, it would never enter into our database if a surgeon were not involved in the procedure. Next slide.
Uh-oh, my click, did it go?
Nope, not yet. I know it's going to happen though. I feel it.
I wonder what's going on here. Sorry, everybody. There we go.
There we go. Okay. So to code any of the following stage 2 procedures, one of the previously listed stage 1 procedures must have been completed. So in order to code 2140 and 2150 hybrid approach stage 2, you had to have undergone one of the hybrid stage 1 procedures. Now this does include 2160, where you may only have a surgeon involved in the case, the application of right and left PA bands. But then 2170 and 2180 from the previous slide must have been completed before you can code a hybrid approach stage 2. Next slide. So, oh, yep, keep going. There we go. The following hybrid approach procedures cannot be the primary procedure of an operation, and these include procedures 2170, hybrid approach stage 1, stent placement in the duct, 2760, a transcardiac balloon dilation, or 2770, a transcardiac transcatheter device placement. So anytime where you've done one of these procedures, you cannot list that as the primary procedure of the operation. If another procedure has been performed in addition to this procedure, that may be the primary procedure, and you'll follow the rules throughout the database for assigning your primary procedure. But you're also going to code the access, the surgical access that's provided by the surgeon during your hybrid approach procedures. This could potentially then become the primary procedure of the operation if you haven't done any other procedures outside of the listed hybrid approach procedures. And the two access procedures are 3660, an open chest exposure per transcatheter, per ventricular, or per atrial procedure, or 3670, peripheral vascular access for a transcatheter procedure. So depending on what procedure you've done or what involvement your surgeon had, you would code one or the other of those procedures. Next slide. All right, so the operation type then will be other, which is op type 777, and for the following procedures. So for these listed hybrid approach procedures, your op type is other, unless you've done it with concomitantly with another procedure. So if you have done some other cardiac procedure, that may determine the op type. We will not include the surgical access procedures that were listed on the previous slide. So whether that be a peripheral vascular access or an open chest access to a procedure, those will not determine the op type of the operation. So if you have done a hybrid approach procedure concomitantly with another procedure, that procedure will determine the op type. Or otherwise, if you've only done the hybrid approach procedure and a surgical access procedure, your op type will be other. Next slide. So let's go now through a couple examples where we can highlight this information. So be thinking as we go along what you think the answer will be, and then I hope I can give you enough information as to convince you why my answer is correct. So patient with a diagnosis of single ventricle other goes to the hybrid suite for bilateral pulmonary artery banding and stent placement in the arterial duct without the use of cardiopulmonary bypass. Which of the following should be coded as the primary procedure? Will it be 2170, hybrid approach stage 1, stent placement in the arterial duct? 2180, hybrid approach stage 1, stent placement in the arterial duct and application of right and left PA bands? Or 2770, hybrid approach transcardiac transcatheter device placement?
Okay, so Chastity, I know you
Yes.
want to just go to the next screen and show the answer, but I want to make it a little bit more interactive.
Okay.
So under the reactions, everybody has access to reactions, and there's, if you go to the reactions, you'll see like the hand clapping, the thumbs up, the heart. You see the other ones, the hand clapping, the thumbs up, the heart. So for the, if you think it's the 2170, can you hit the hands clapping? If you think it's the 2180, could you hit the thumbs up? And if you think it's the 2770, could you hit the heart button? Let's see if any of that works.
I see
We'll give
lots
it a
of
few
hands.
seconds. It might be a terrible idea, but we're going to give it a few seconds and see.
I think it's great.
Can anybody see those reaction buttons? Do you see them? Do you see them? Chastity?
Yes, I see
them.
them, and I see the hands coming up the screen.
Oh, you do? Okay, I can't see
I
the
see the
hands. Let me
reaction.
make this, hold on one second. Let me make this a little bit smaller. Maybe I'm missing them. So you just tell me when you want me to stop. There they are. Okay.
Yep, you got it.
People
I can
found
see 'em.
them. Okay, good.
Excellent. And you said the thumbs up is for
The second one,
the
2180.
second one. And
Mhm.
what is the heart?
2770.
Okay, perfect.
Let me know when we could go to the next slide if you're happy with what you're seeing.
Responses have been answered. I saw lots of thumbs up and a couple hearts.
Okay, so the thumbs up was 2180 and the heart was 2770, and the answer is
2180. So
thumbs up.
excellent that most of you were correct in this procedure. So as spelled out above, the patient goes to the hybrid suite for bilateral pulmonary artery banding and stent placement. So your primary procedure is going to be both the stent placement in the arterial duct and application of right and left PA bands. It does not matter that the patient does not have a diagnosis of HLHS. The hybrid procedure, and as spelled out in the training manual in the box, that HLHS is not a requirement to have a hybrid procedure. So very good. Next slide. So a little bit more discussion about this, that this patient is undergoing a hybrid approach procedure where we've utilized a combined, catheter-based techniques and surgical techniques. And the patient is receiving the bilateral PA bands, and the ductus is being maintained open with a stent. So if you go and read the specific definition for this procedure, you will see that your ductus is either you arrive in the OR and your ductus is being maintained as open with PGE infusion, or by a previously placed stent, or that you're undergoing stent placement. So that's spelled out in the training manual under this procedure. Next. Okay, next question, and we'll let Carol do her voting. I love it, it's great. Patient with a diagnosis of single ventricle other goes to the hybrid suite for bilateral pulmonary artery banding and stent placement in the arterial duct. So same patient without bypass. What is the op type now for this procedure?
All right, so the clapping hands is going to be no CPB cardiovascular. Thumbs up is CPB cardiovascular, and other is the heart. Oh, look at all that. That's cool.
This is great, Carol.
Yeah, I love it.
On the fly, you are good, girl.
That's cool. Okay.
You rolling in?
Yeah, we got a couple more coming in. So the no CPB was the clapping hands. The CPB cardiovascular is thumbs up, and other is the heart. You good, Chastity?
Yep, I'm good. Let's go next slide.
All right, let's go to the next slide.
So it looks like the most of you were correct in this, that it is no CPB cardiovascular. And I then highlighted in red font that, I said this was without cardiopulmonary bypass. This is not one of the procedures where the op type would be considered other. And it was without bypass, so it can't be CPB cardiovascular. So great job, everybody, on your voting. And Carol. All right,
Yeah.
next one. I love this. All right, new patient. Patient with hypoplastic left heart syndrome goes to the hybrid suite for ductal stenting. The surgeon performs a femoral artery cut down through which interventional cardiology successfully places a stent. So which of the following procedures should be coded? Select all that apply. This could be a little more difficult, Carol, I'm sorry.
Oh, don't worry. We have 1, 2, 3, 6 emojis to choose from. So,
okay.
All right. So if you're going to code this as 2170, you want to go through the options?
Yes, 2170 is hybrid approach stage 1, stent placement in the duct.
That's the clapping hands.
Okay, clap. And then 2180 is hybrid approach stage 1, stent placement in the duct plus application of right and left PA bands.
That's the thumbs up.
Okay. 1550 is cardiovascular cath procedure, therapeutic, stent insertion.
That's the heart.
And 3670 peripheral vascular access for transcatheter procedures.
All right, and that's the laughing face emoji.
Laughing
so 2170 is the clap, 2180 is the thumbs up, 1550 is the heart, and 3670 is the laughing face emoji. Well, that's a good laughing face emoji.
I know, it's good.
That was like a clown one.
Right?
Look at that. I love that. That's cool.
Carol and her ideas. We are happy. A few more rolling in.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's go. Next slide. So the two appropriate procedures are the hybrid approach stage 1, a stent placement in the arterial duct, and the peripheral vascular access for transcatheter procedures 3670. So the clap and the laughing were what we saw the most of. So this is really great that you guys are catching on, as well as that you've maybe read your training manual. So next slide. So the reason that these procedures are what are to be coded is highlighted in the box below and is directly from the training manual. So when one of the above listed hybrid approach procedures is completed, the surgical access should also be completed, and then listed the 2 procedures there for surgical access. This clearly stated that the surgeon performed a femoral artery cut down. So that's why it's the 3670 peripheral vascular access for transcatheter procedure, and then interventional cardiology used that access point to place the stent, and that's why 2170, the hybrid approach stage 1. Next slide. Which of these procedures will now be considered the primary procedure? I already gave it to you.
Or is it?
Did it go to?
Or is it the trick slide? Let's see. Is it the right answer?
It is the right answer, correct.
Did I go backwards?
Maybe too far? Like, did it go? No? Yeah, too far. Previous. Carol got a little excited in her streaming. It's okay. The
No,
primary procedure, yeah, maybe it's the slide order. The primary procedure is going to be the peripheral access for transcatheter procedures. And this is because the hybrid approach stage 1 stent placement in the duct is on the list of cannot be a primary procedure. We did not do any other procedures during in the hybrid suite that day. So then our primary procedure does become the peripheral vascular access for transcatheter procedures. Next slide. And that just explains this. So some of the hybrid approach procedures cannot be the primary procedure of an operation. And so it's spelled out there in the training manual. Next. Okay. I know some of you said you wanted to use 1550, a cardiovascular cath procedure, therapeutic stent insertion. So I anticipated this and wanted to make sure that we understood why we would use the hybrid approach versus just the cardiovascular cath technique. So both involve the placement of a stent. And so, of course, 2170 is specific to the arterial duct, whereas 1550 can be a stent insertion anywhere, but can include the arterial duct. So when would we use one versus the other? And this again is spelled out in the training manual, but you're going to code 2170, the hybrid approach, if a stent was placed in the arterial duct to facilitate pulmonary to systemic blood flow in a patient with ductal dependent systemic circulation. So this would include diagnoses such as HLHS or interrupted aortic arch. Whereas in contrast, 1550 code this procedure if a stent was placed in the arterial duct to facilitate systemic to pulmonary blood flow in a patient with ductal dependent pulmonary circulation. So pulmonary atresia VSD, pulmonary atresia intact ventricular septum, etc. You're probably going to have to work with clinical teams, maybe your surgeon, to understand what type of ductal dependent blood flow your patient has. Perhaps if the diagnosis isn't as clear as HLHS versus pulmonary atresia, you're also very welcome to submit, your scenarios to the core group, and we would be happy to weigh in on this for you. But hopefully this will help you when trying to determine, should I be using 2170 or 1550? Next slide. And there's our op type is other. And I'm sorry that the question slide isn't here, but the reason for this is that it is one of the procedures in the training manual that is spelled out that if you do this with no other concomitant procedure, your operation type is other.
Yeah, even though there was a femoral cut down, right? The stenting itself, it's other. Okay.
Correct. And so that's exactly what the training manual says, that for the above listed hybrid procedures, the operation type is other unless the procedure was done concomitantly with another procedure, excluding the surgical access procedures. Thank you, Carol. And then the op type would be determined by the concomitant procedure performed. Okay, next slide. Ooh. Patient with multiple VSDs undergoes bilateral pulmonary artery banding. The patient arrives stable to the OR, and the preoperative TEE notes that the ductus arteriosus is closed. So which of the following is the correct primary procedure? 2160, hybrid approach stage 1, application of right and left PA bands with concomitant use of PGE to maintain ductal patency, or 3860, PA band, placement of unilateral or bilateral branch PA bands without the need for concomitant PGE and or ductal stent.
Okay, the clapping hands is 2160, the thumbs up is 3860. Good question, Chastity. Whoop, look at
We're getting to look at this.
People are listening. Very nice. Okay.
Okay, let's go. Awesome. I think all of you submitted the correct response, or correct emoji reaction. The correct answer is 3860 PA banding, the placement of unilateral or bilateral branch PA bands without the need for concomitant PGE or ductal stent. And so while I did not say the patient wasn't receiving PGE, the TEE is saying the ductus is closed, and clearly the patient is not bothered by this, so we're not ductal dependent. Next slide. So which PA banding procedure to code? So again, you guys got this correctly, but if you look at each of these procedures, why you would use one versus the other when you're doing bilateral branch pulmonary artery banding, it's laid out right here. It really has to do with the need to keep the ductus open or not. Next slide. All right, so I hope that this really clears up and clarifies what was discussed last week in relation to the hybrid approach procedures. The training manual is posted. I know I have realized that there are a few spelling errors and a few things that need to be updated, and that will get done. We're just waiting for Leanne to get done celebrating this big birthday, and then she will have it posted for us. So hold tight. Please do note everything in your world has changed, and my own data manager has said to me, I feel like I've been doing this for years and I feel like today I know nothing. As of July 1, I know nothing. And so it kind of feels like you're starting out again and looking at a training manual for the first time. We know this upgrade was big. We're living in it too. And even though I wrote Leslie and I wrote the training manual, I still have it completely open because you can't memorize 1,257 odd pages. And so I really advise that you look at the training manual. There are new fields, there are new clarifications to existing fields. So it is true that most of what you know, you don't know anymore. It'll get better, I promise. Again, your individual questions will not be posted in the training manual. Any clarifications and updates will be made and highlighted in the red font, as we pointed out, and there will be a separate document that we keep that cumulatively lists all of the changes and clarifications to the training manual. And of course, please continue to submit your questions. We are happy to answer them and available to help. We know it's overwhelming right now. We're overwhelmed too, and are living in all this joy. So when you've done your first adult patient, let me know, because I'll tell you, I had fun with that this week myself already. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Chastity. Thank you very much. That was a great review for that section. There's just a couple questions coming in. Make sure you use the Q&A, and then we could get through these questions, and then I could do a quick, we could do a quick virtual drive through the STS website to look at the congenital section and where things are going to be posted. So Patricia had asked a question regarding her vendor, and it looks like Jen Marietta has responded. So I'm going to remove those questions, and thank you, Jen, for sharing your email with Patricia. That's very helpful, and the kind of the purpose of these calls is for all of us to work together. Maggie Smith is asking if a patient is on PGE, but the band is placed on the main pulmonary artery, would this be a hybrid procedure or not?
I believe that the procedure is bilateral PA bands and not main PA band. Am I correct, Dr. Jacobs?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. A patient with ductal dependent systemic circulation, the main pulmonary artery is going to become the aorta at some point in time. So we don't band the main pulmonary artery in ductal dependent systemic circulation. A hybrid procedure includes banding of the branch pulmonary arteries.
Thank you, Dr. Jacobs.
Thank you.
Okay. From Beth, am I understanding correctly? Are we to enter ductal stenting procedures performed by interventional cardiologists, or only if the surgeon is needed to provide access?
Excellent question, Beth. We should be entering things into the database where there is a surgeon involved, because we are not the interventional cardiology database. We no longer have a op type for interventional cardiology either. So really you're only doing this if a surgeon is involved in the case.
Thank you, Chastity. Robin has a question regarding vendor issues and the MVR report for even Q2 missing elements. I don't know, Robin, is that MVR report, are you looking at, is that the IQVIA missing variable report, or is that within your vendor software? Oh, the IQVIA report. So I don't know that that's been updated yet to remove elements. If you don't mind sending me an email, and I'll put it in the chat box. If you don't mind sending me, or actually I'll type it in the thing here. If you don't mind sending me an email, and I can check on the status of that. Sometimes it takes because we do still have two versions, 341 and 623, going together. When we introduce new elements or changes to the way we were collecting elements in the new version, the missing variable report, sometimes it takes a little bit for the programming to get caught up with that. So I will, I'll check on the status of that with our IQVIA team to see where we're at. And also, if we were collecting elements in 341 and no longer collecting them in 623, they may still appear as missing, but there should be a notation there. And if it's not there, we'll work with IQVIA to update it, but there should be a notation that says element, something about the element discontinued in version 623. So I'll work with IQVIA and I'll check into that for you. And I know that's when you're trying to clean up your data, the missing variable report showing things as missing that aren't even being collected or not collected for a certain version, that's not helpful. So we'll try to get that done as quickly as possible.
And Robin, to your point, as well as I think it was maybe Amy that pointed out that you're having some vendor issues. I think it's kind of universal right now that many of us are undergoing multiple updates, you know, with our vendors, and I know they're working fast as quickly as possible to rectify all of our issues, but you're not alone. Like I think all of us are experiencing, you know, some issues. This was a massive upgrade, you know, not only definitionally, but also for the vendors. And so I think that there are just some kinks that they are working out. So don't feel like that you're alone or hanging out there on a limb. We're all hanging.
That's the truth. And then Amy says, to Chastity's point, the training manual is 1,000+ pages and it is a really great resource. Is there a document out there that summarizes or highlights some of the major changes between 341 and 6232? I guess
there is not. I mean, other than like the data collection forms where, Carol, that you nicely put out last year that showed what was dropped, you know, things crossed out and things, those are there. But I understand like many of the definitions were clarified and changed. It's probably better to work by exclusion. I think most things have updated or at least have been definitions have been clarified. And so that's probably a safer way to approach it. If I put out a document, I'd probably be putting out another 1,000-page document for you to look at. So much has absolutely changed.
And there with let's see, usually with the upgrades, we do have a change document that our warehouse produces when we build out.
Oh, okay. So maybe versions more like from a spec perspective, right?
So let me show you, because it will show, and I'm not sure if so there's this itemized changes and then there's summary checklist of changes. One of these is usually an Excel spreadsheet. This is not it. And if we don't have it posted, I can work with Leanne to see if we're able to get it posted. We can share this in an Excel spreadsheet, and what it is, this is the data specification, so changes. It doesn't list out from a clinical standpoint, but it gives you a flag that says, hey, something changed in this field that you would want to look more closely at it. And I wouldn't use this as the end all be all of changes. I would use this as one tool to identify changes. I would still review the training manual for every variable that I'm collecting, just to make sure I'm doing it as according to what's expected for this version. I can work with Leanne to have this document put out. And what you can do is you can filter on these fields that are here. And the ones that you'll probably be most interested in is you would put no change. It's either going to be a yes or a no. So if you're going to look for changes, you would filter this to be no change equal to no. And then it'll populate the fields that have changes to them. And then you can see, was it a new field? Was it a deleted field? Was there changes to the basic definition? Now, again, this just, if there's no changes to the definition, it doesn't mean that additional information is not provided in the intent clarification section. So I would still review all of the definitions, all of the intent clarifications for each of the fields, but this is just a nice key, and it can be available in an Excel spreadsheet to be a little bit helpful if you all think that would be worth it. Do you think that's helpful, Chastity, or?
I do. I think it is helpful to know, from this summary level of what has changed. But as Carol said, that doesn't mean that more information hasn't been, entered into the training manual to clarify the specific definitions or when to code something.
Yeah, please
not code
always,
something.
always refer to the training manual, because this is just one tool. It's helpful as one tool. So I'll work with Leanne and we'll try to get that posted in the Excel version, which I think we have. Okay. So I don't see any other questions. I see a couple comments that the Excel would be helpful. So we'll work on that. And I'm sure Leanne will listen to this recording on her vacation and be like, oh, I'll put that on my to-do list on Monday morning. We'll work on that. But what we were going to do, just a walkthrough of the STS website. And if you have any questions, feel free to enter them in. I just don't want to end early. We have 20 minutes and I know, the STS website underwent some major updates and we're talking about streamlining things. So I just wanted to walk through that. Unless Chastity, you have anything else you wanted to present right now?
Nope, I will make sure that the Q&A scenarios in the slides are ordered appropriately so that if you ever want to follow along again while listening, you can. And we'll get those posted on the website, for Leanne when she comes back.
Exactly. We're making a very long Leanne to-do list. Okay. So STS.org, research and data. The STS National Database link is just the basic database information. For data managers, this will take you to the section where you're able to access each of the databases. And then this is the STS ACC TVT registry information. When I usually go into the STS.org and I'm looking to go access a training manual or something, I just go to the for data managers information. On this page, it starts off with our AQO, data manager mentorship, regional groups, STS database news, clinical questions request form, essential forms if you need to update roles or add or remove anybody. If you're getting audited, your login information is here. Audit information for sites being audited will come soon. It has not yet been released. Just finalized a few things with our research center who's pulling the data earlier this morning. So that should be hopefully out later this week. And then the how-to videos, and then we get into the specific databases. One easy way, instead of having to scroll through all of that, is to use these quick links on the side. So for congenital, if I just click there, it automatically scrolls down to the congenital section of this web page. And the updates for monthly webinars, we have, the recordings from the previous and the slides from the previous here. And then this view past CHSD webinars will take you to the STS YouTube database YouTube channel, where we have separate stations for each of the databases. So CHSD has all of their webinars located in a central place. When I get here, probably the most, where I'm going to click the most is this access data collections resources. This will take me to all of the versions and all of the available resources for those versions. So we'll click on that in just 1 second. The harvest deadline, a quick link is here. And that just has the spring and the fall ones listed. We don't have dates for 2024 yet, but you can assume they're going to be similar to these mid-March and mid-September dates. And then so if I click on here, this will take me, it scrolls automatically down to the congenital section of this page. Up above what it was is the other adult cardiac and general thoracic databases. When I click that link from the congenital section of the previous page, it takes me right down to the congenital heart surgery database page. And I have all of the versions here. Under each version, you'll see annotated and data specifications, itemized changes from the previous version to the current. We are working to post the previous versions for research purposes. If if there's people out there who want to put in research proposals for manuscripts and things like that, we're working on adding previous versions in a kind of a repository of data collection information that will be on a shared drive. But for purposes of this page, we have version 3.22, just the DCF status specs and itemized changes. We didn't post a whole lot when previous to 341. And I don't even know in 341, but I know in 623 we didn't post a whole lot of information. Pretty much it was just training manual, DCF, data specs. That was it. We'll get into 341. You'll see that we have some more information posted. And this is what we're going to try to streamline is we'll have the training manual, the DCFs, and then currently in 341, we have data specs, itemized changes, field clarification, stat categories, combo procedure codes. And we're trying to condense where all of these are where their homes are at. So my understanding, Chastity, and you feel free to talk more to this, but my understanding is that for all of these things that we're providing in 341, or what's appropriate to bring over into the new version, is that they will be linked to within the training manual.
Correct.
So
I think the only separate document outside of the training manual will be Appendix C, but otherwise the document that's currently listed in 341 as the combination procedures or how to determine primary procedure and primary diagnosis, those are completely embedded within the training manual and within the report overview. So they will live there. So you won't see those moved over to 623. And that's just for version control, so you don't have multiple documents that we need to go out and update often. So if you were to look up one of the procedures that is done in combination, and off the top of my head, I don't know that I can come up with an example. You would think I should be able to, right? But if you were to, you will see it where there's a combination procedure in the training manual, it specifically spells out, this is, procedure this plus done concomitantly with procedure this.
Which plus VSD.
There we go, Arch plus VSD. Do you know the number? John Meyer will know the number.
Yes, he will. And the CPT code and probably the ICD-9 code also.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to.
not going to guess on that
It's
one.
not going to come up. 1280 something, I think, is.
1280 might be one. You're absolutely right. No, well, that's
Well,
diagnosis.
there's 28 billion 1280, so we're not,
Yeah, right.
I won't make people sit through that. I'll be looking
But
for,
if you go, it will list out what specific procedures are involved in the combination procedure. Because again, it's not always what we think it is. There are specific procedures from Dr. Marshall Jacobs' paper that gave us specifically what makes up the combination codes. And so they're spelled out in this document and then will again be spelled out in the report overview. So you know when you're analyzed, why something was analyzed the way it was.
perfect. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up is with version 6.23 and Chastity, I don't want to speak on the work that you're going to be doing, but did you want to talk any about the FAQ, monthly FAQ update document that you'll be posting?
Oh, yes, we've talked about it a few times, but I'm happy to again reinforce it
Okay.
here, is that we won't be posting your individual questions. The process will work the same. You will submit an FAQ as you currently do, and it will go to the core group and you will get an answer just like you always have received an answer. However, it will not then be added to the 1200 plus page training manual. That will bog it down. It's hard to find things, hard to keep things straight. If a clarification to a definition needs to be made, we will make that only in the training manual. So your specific question related to, maybe a patient at your facility that underwent a specific procedure and you have a question about won't be listed. However, if we clarify the definition, oh yes, that you would code it for this scenario or for that scenario, then we would update the training manual. This way you'll see a lot less updates per month. And you will still get an answer as appropriate as you would have prior to the version go live. But what we will have then as well is a separate document, as Melinda already currently does over on the adult side, that lists the changes that were made, the clarifications that were made to the training manual from month to month. And so that way you can open up that document and see, oh, this month they clarified unplanned cardiac re-ops. I need to go look at that. And so no longer do you have to search a 1200 page document to find what updates were made this month. But you can open that other document and see that there were some updates made, and maybe, you know, specifically what those updates are listed in that document. So you can, and it'll be cumulative. So what we change in July will be listed there. What we change in August will then be listed in this separate document. So we don't have that document yet, but we will.
You could show them mine just
Oh
if they
yeah,
want
go
Yeah.
to the adult side.
idea what they look, what it looks like.
Yeah, I was going to, and the one thing I was going to also say is, so review the training manual now as you're abstracting cases and the version is new to us. And get familiar with those definitions, the information provided in the intent clarification section. And then each month when Chastity produces this FAQ summary, you'll be able to you can search this by sequence number, or you can just scroll through it. These are the FAQs. This is how we do it. We do it with under Melinda's lead for the adults section. These are the FAQs that came in from July 2023 that required some update to the training manual. We don't put in the exact question, just like Chastity has said, but we update where it makes sense and how it makes sense. So once in August, you'll see that this document will be available for CHSD. It'll say STS CHSD FAQs, August 2023 with the version number. You'll see, you know, the column sequence short name update, the sequence number, what short name there was a change applied to, and then the update that was added. So update for July for this field is listed here. In the training manual, you'll find this exact same information, and I'll show you what that looks like. So we'll go to the, and I'm just using adult because we do it in adult. We also started doing it in general thoracic, but just as an example of what to expect and how to use this and how I would use it. So I see that there is an update to sequence 505 for PVD. In July of 2023. So I'm in the July training manual. And if I just search the sequence number, or if you want to just search the short name, or the other way, if this is not going to want to work for me because it's still loading, is under bookmarks. And each of the updates under bookmarks, you'll see update July 2023. So this is another way to identify that a change was made within that, or an update was provided within that section. So an update under risk factors for adult, an update was listed. I click on that. It's going to take me right to where this update is at. And if you scroll up, you'll see that it's 505. And this is the same update that was provided within that FAQ summary sheet. So all the updates that are going to be included in the training manual will be provided on that FAQ summary sheet. It's going to be in red for the current month. These that are in green here, you'll see update November 2022, update July 2022. These are all already listed. This FAQ summary document is a cumulative document, as Chastity said. And they're all listed here, but because they are not new, we just change them to a different color just to highlight the new changes for this month. So did I cover it good, Melinda and Chastity?
Yes,
Sounds
excellent.
great.
Okay. So that's that. And I think that's pretty much what I wanted to show you. I think those are the new things that we'll be expecting with congenital, is the streamlining of where documents are stored for the additional resources and things like that. And then how the FAQ summary document will work. And to please read the training manual while you're abstracting, please. And if you have any questions, submit a clinical FAQ. And I think that's it. And then our next, so I don't have anything further to add. The next monthly webinar will be July 18th at 12 p.m. Central. Next user group call is August 1st at 12 p.m. Central. I'm sure Chastity will have some very good education. Chastity and Leslie will have some very good education for both of these webinars. And if you have any questions, reach out to Leanne. Please do not inundate her inbox while she's on vacation, because we have just made her very long to-do list, and she needs to get those things done Monday morning by 8 a.m. Right, Chastity? No, of course, if you have any questions, for
Yes.
Leanne, of course, if you have any questions for Leanne, please reach out to her. Tech support, STSDB_helpdesk at sts.org. This will be for any questions for analysis reports or data submission questions. Any operational questions about what surgeons are listed on my account. I need to update contact information and can't find the form, or whatever it may be outside of the technical area or technical area, please use the STSDB, STSDB at sts.org. And we all work together even for all of these mailboxes. So we just hope to get it in the right spot when it comes in so we can get it routed quicker. And just one more question here. Would you recommend to review coding and app type on hybrid procedures prior to 7/1/2023? I'll let you take that, Chastity.
So for surgical dates prior to 7/1, you'll use the training manual from database version 3.41. And so if you have a specific question, just make sure you clarify that it's for version 3.41 and not 6.2, 3.2. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. All right, and then the date for the August monthly webinar, I'm not sure exactly. It's usually what is it, the second Wednesday? Or what day is today? Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
See if we can find it. I don't know if it's posted yet or not. But if not, we'll have it available for the next time we meet.
I think it should be the 15th, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. But we'll have it posted when we meet on July 18th. No, today's July 18th. What day is today?
Today is the 18th.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let me
All
check.
day, Carol.
Oh my goodness. I can't believe it's July 18th. Let me check my phone calendar here. Yep, you're right, Chastity. It's August 15th at noon Central Time. So it looks like we do them the third Tuesday of the month at noon for the monthly webinars. Okay, so thanks everybody for joining. As always, Chastity, thank you, and Melinda, thank you so much. Always an awesome job with wonderful education. Thank you, Dr. Jacobs, Dr. Meyer, and I hope everybody has a great rest of the day.